43 of Speak on It, the Troy Polamalu episode. That is the only athlete that I could find that most people would know in reference to 43. So we're going to leave it at that, which makes sense.
He's a Hall of Famer now, right?
He's in the Hall of Fame, and he's in commercials with Patrick Mahomes, which is a sign that you've made it. I'm your host, Danny Ocean, as always, joined by the smoothest man on the planet, Losty Mix. How you living, baby?
Hey man, it's a blessing to be here another week, not only with you, Danny, but obviously we have a guest here, which I'm very, very excited for. I'm gonna let you do the intro to us. I don't want to take your style. I don't want to take your time.
So as you guys can see, we have a guest tonight. He is the co-host of the 2-Point Conversion and the Dynasty Gambit, which are both on the Going for Two Live network. He is an avid Packers fan. So D, you have some backup tonight because I'm gonna say some real spicy tonight about the Packers. So you guys take me to the slaughterhouse. Kyle, how are you? Welcome to the show.
Well, how am I? I mean, the title says it all, right? We run the North as a Packers fan. 3 straight NFC North titles. It feels great.
3 in a row. Tell them again.
Oh, that's what you meant by we run the North. I was talking about the AFC North, not the NFC.
Nah, stop it.
I have no idea what's going on in that division.
There's only one team whose division is solidified. There's already a division winner. It's the NFC North.
Quite the sleight of hand. I appreciate that.
You remember when Matt Nagy got there and they said the road of the North runs through Chicago? Oh boy,
he's got 0 division titles as a head coach, doesn't he? Because I think the one year the Packers,
he's got one, which is the last year of Mike McCarthy, and it was bad.
How did that season end, Danny?
The double boink.
Yeah, exactly. So okay, you're right. 1 division title. That is true. I forgot. I thought the Vikings won it for that year for some reason.
Which makes me laugh even harder that the Vikings couldn't beat a Matt Nagy coached Bears team. If you look at the Bears now, you're just like, what were the Vikings doing? They had Stephon Diggs too. That was when they had Stephon Diggs.
Because I think the year before that's the year they went to the NFC Championship game. Which again, Danny, you remember how that ended, so I'm sure you can fond moments there.
They still shouldn't have been. I'm still very adamant that had the Saints not made maybe the biggest blunder.
No.
They would have given y'all the business. They would have given y'all the business.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were talking to Alvin Kamara because he would have got his ass. No one was beat. When they came out to Meek Mill, that was it. Like it could have been the Chiefs.
That was it.
It could have been the Saints. It could have been Jesus and the disciples. All of them would have got their ass kicked that night in Philadelphia.
I'll give credit to Danny on that, in that the Patriots had a chance to beat these Eagles and they couldn't do that. So I mean, if the Patriots couldn't do it on neutral territory, I don't have faith in Drew Brees and the Saints being able to do that on the road. Personally,
you think Noodle Arm Drew was going to?
I knew you was about to go there.
In the middle of January.
I leave Drew alone.
Did you have Drew Brees on your fantasy teams in that time as well, Danny? And just okay, great, riding good, and then fantasy playoffs come and just nosedive.
Yeah, Drew would have retired 2 years earlier had he came to Philadelphia in January during that season. He would have got his ass whooped all up and down.
Now, it's funny. All of Drew, Drew's last 4 or 5 seasons were all the same. He started out like crazy hot, and then he got to like the end part of the fantasy season, and you're just like, dog, how are you a Hall of Famer, man? What are you doing? It's nasty out here. But people, we are here to speak on it. It is a great day, episode 43. We have Kyle here. We're going to talk a lot. Before we get into it, we want to let y'all know. I'm just going to start this episode off by saying we are going to be off the next 2 Tuesdays. We're going to, spend some time with the families for our holiday season. So we'll still have all the previous episodes available. So go check them out. There's still a lot of good conversation just in general. But guys, let's get into it just off rip, right? So this past week, this NFL week, well, as you can still see over my shoulder right here, this NFL week is just now getting ready to end. So far we've had a lot of winners, a lot of losers, and a lot of COVID during this NFL week 15. So I guess from the games that's been played so far outside of the Rams and the Seahawks and the football team versus the Eagles, who do you guys think had the biggest win of the week? And additionally, who had the nastiest loss of the week?
Go ahead, Kyle. I'm going to take a moment. So you go ahead.
Trying to think back, I would say a big win, probably the Steelers beating the Titans, just in terms of how the like that shapes up the AFC playoffs for both teams. Really, it really like that really opens up the AFC South as well. The Colts getting their win. So yeah, I think that Steelers beating the Titans, that was pretty pivotal in terms of how things stack up in that conference.
That's a good one. I completely look. That game was so bad. I keep forgetting that game happened because like fantasy wise, I was just like checking stats. But I didn't like even when Red Zone was going in and out on that game, I really wasn't paying it a lot of attention. But that's a great point because with the Titans completely wetting the bed, like they're giving the Colts a window to come in and steal that division. I think the team that had the biggest win, this is going to be hilarious. I'm going to say the Detroit Lions. And this is why. They did the Packers a pretty damn big favor because, fam, nobody had Detroit winning that game. Nobody. Like, they had no business winning that game. And not only did they win that game, they beat the hell out the Cardinals. Like, it really wasn't a game from start to finish. Like, it was not a game from start to finish. I think that helps. That really gives a lot of teams, like, outside of just not only the Packers, but you think of the Rams, the Cowboys, the Bucks. You're putting a lot of teams in position to have a chance at the number one seed in the NFC, which is now going to make these next 3 weeks a really, really competitive, set for all these teams. And pretty much everyone's going to have to go to the end of the season playing all their starters because everyone, especially those teams I just mentioned, really want that number one seed, especially with COVID and whatnot. You want that week off. You don't want to be playing that week.
I'm with you, Kyle. I had the Steelers. And the best part of that game is when Mike Tomlin blew a kiss to the camera after they sealed the win. I love a good shit talker. That was the piece de la resistance.
Is there a symbolism to that? Like, I didn't get it. Like, what's the backstory behind it?
I just thought it was hilarious. Like, shout out to CBS and the camera work because they caught it. Him blowing the kiss to the camera. It was beautiful.
You know what?
Talk your shit, Mike Tomlin. You were an elite coach.
I always find it funny that Ben Roethlisberger, after every touchdown, is pointing to God. Boy, God is not pointing at you. Stop it! Stop it! If you don't stop it, God is not pointing. He ain't pointing back at you. But I agree. Like, you know what? Mike Tomlin honestly should get some votes for Coach of the Year, dog. I feel like he should get just votes every year because this guy just manages to keep it together. He's taking some pretty average to bad rosters, and he's just keeping these guys in playoff contention.
Has he ever won Coach of the Year? Research, get on that. Oh, wait, can I do that?
Oh, man, that's a good one.
I will look this one up.
I'm actually looking it up now, so you don't have to worry. I'll still pull duties.
I don't think he has actually.
I don't think
I was leading. I didn't think so either.
Which is wild when you think about it because he's never had a losing season. So he's had anything. He's had at least 9 wins in every 8 or 9 wins in every season. He's never won Coach of the Year.
Yeah, no, never. I mean, Belichick's won 3 times in his tenure, Arians twice, and there's a lot of like random names like Matt Nagy, for instance, Jason Garrett. They don't always get the Coach of the Year. Oh, Ron Rivera won twice. That's a good 2-time winner. But yeah, they don't always get it right. Mike Smith for the Falcons got Coach of the Year in 2008. Marvin Lewis in 2009. Frankly, Lewis probably deserves it more than, say, Smith, Matt Nagy, or Jason Garrett. But yeah.
You mean to tell me, does Marvin Lewis have one?
Yes, Marvin Lewis, 2009. With
Marvin Lewis.
Is that when Carson tore his ACL in the Steelers playoff game?
No, I think that was later than that. 2009? Is that even still Carson Palmer? Maybe.
Yeah, 2009 he's in Oakland. 2009. Who was it?
That was before Andy Dalton, right? That was before.
Oh, yeah, that's way before Andy Dalton. Andy Dalton comes in like 4 or 5 years. Who was the QB in 2009?
They went 10-6, 1 win ahead of the Ravens. Let's look at the stats for that team. Who is the quarterback?
What a nasty period of time.
Carson. No, it was still Carson Palmer. Okay, I think that. I guess
that must have been the year he blew his knee out.
You see, I don't think so. I think wasn't that 2006.
I thought once he blew his knee out, he sat out.
Because the Steelers, it doesn't look like the Steelers made the playoffs in 2009. So that's why I don't think it was that year. It looks like they finished just short of the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. You are correct. Correct.
So who did the Bengals lose to that year Because I assume he didn't win.
Yeah, because 09 was
the Jets.
something-
Sanchez's Jets, right? That'd have been
Rex
Mark
Ryan
Sanchez's
Jets
first.
year.
That'd have been his first playoff win, but that he went on, I think, on a streak of a few there. But yeah, it starts with beating the Bengals. So
the Rex
all
Ryan
great
Jets.
dynasties are born.
No, that was a period of time when like Rex Ryan was really doing his thing. Like he was legitimately doing his thing. Had he had a little bit better quarterback play, a little bit more consistently, like I still don't think they would have beat the Patriots. But
all to say, that's a good point, D, that Tomlin probably definitely deserves more Coach of the Year love than he's gotten. But I will also say, they get it right some years, but as evidenced by Matt Nagy and Jason Garrett winning in recent years, the writers don't always get that one right. In fact, they sometimes get it incredibly wrong. Like I remember the year Garrett won it. Like that was the year to me Belichick should have won it because I'm pretty sure that was the year Brady got suspended.
Oh no,
I think that was.
And Deflategate. Yep.
And they still, I believe, were the number one seed in spite of the fact that they had to play a month without Tom Brady. So it showed that it wasn't all just Brady. Like if you're ever going to give it to Belichick, I thought that was the year for it. And I think Dan Campbell, his first year with the Falcons, they had a winning record. Like you could have given it to him. All that Jason Garrett did was say, "Oh, this incredible rookie Dak Prescott and this incredible rookie Zeke Elliott, go play on the field." Like that's all he did as a coach was say these two. And I mean, with Dak, you didn't have a choice with Romo, but Zeke, this inarguable generational running back talent that we took number 4 overall, you play a lot. That's my coaching decision. That's what I'm coach of the year, right? I never got that one, but I have a lot of criticisms for NFL writers.
Do you guys think if the Cowboys could go back, they would take Dak in the first round and take Zeke in the 4th if they could?
Yes, but that wouldn't.
I think they would too.
Zeke would have went top 20.
Yeah, I don't think you could have. Well. Go back in hindsight. I mean, yeah, if you draft in hindsight, yeah, Dak's. I mean, who was the first overall pick that year?
That was 2016.
Research.
2016. That was
had that Garrett? Is that Myles Garrett? Maybe
that might have been.
Yeah, I would have.
I think if you redid that draft, Dak Prescott to me has to go 1 top or 5. 2 maybe.
Yeah, easily.
Oh yeah, Jared Goff, Carson Wentz.
Who are those guys?
Fam, imagine, fam, if I'm Dak Prescott, every day I got to wake up and hear that Jared Goff went before me. Nah, I'm furious. I'd be mad too. Fam.
Well, there's a ton of quarterbacks that went before him. Didn't Connor Cook for the Raiders go before him? And wasn't Jerry Jones mad about that? And I guess we'll take Dak Prescott.
The fact that Jerry just fell into Dak. That's mad impressive. Man.
The Ravens took Kenneth Dixon, the very pick right before. The Packers took Blake Martinez 4 picks before. Which Blake Martinez is actually pretty good. So that's no criticism.
Blake was a tackling machine. He
still is really with the Giants.
Yeah, is he still playing? He's still playing.
Giants, yeah. Or did he get that injury though this year?
I didn't know he was.
He always had concussions, right? He has concussion issues, right?
Boy, he was averaging.
I thought it was
150 tackles.
With the Packers, it was great. He was actually pretty durable with the Packers. He was usually playing 16 games every year. It's just I think, with Mike Pettin's scheme, didn't work so well in coverage, and I think that was kind of the limitation there. Now we see with the Joe Barry scheme what he's doing with the linebackers, with Chris Barnes. I mean, okay, so talk about Coach of the Year, D, MVP race. I kind of don't think Aaron Rodgers really is a strong case, partially because I'm not sure he's the MVP on the Packers. If you just look at the team MVP, I might name Devondre Campbell because he has been incredibly consistent from day one. He's got what Martinez had tackling wise, but he can play in coverage. And I think Martinez was a good defensive quarterback, getting everyone lined up, and it seems like Campbell gets that well. But it's the play and coverage that extra gear that Martinez didn't have that Campbell does.
I agree. And I think when you look at this team versus last year when Rodgers won it, you could tell that the offense was the pure strength of the team. And now you see this is a well-balanced team. And also, selfishly, my GOAT I don't want him to win MVP. I want you to focus on let's go to the Super Bowl, dog. Forget the MVPs. Let's just focus on beating Tom Brady in the NFC Championship game. And let's really hope that somebody beats the Bucs before we have to play them. That's my biggest hope. That is
what I'm thinking. You have nothing to fear now with the Bucs. Godwin's gone.
Yeah, you say that, but come on. We've seen him. We've seen that number 12 take you, me, and Kyle to the Super Bowl and win. So, I'm not trying to do that again. Like
one thing I'll say, not having David Bakhtiari, I think might have made a big difference in that game last year. So getting him back, presumably getting him back. I mean, he's been practicing. It seemed like he might even play this previous
they're
week,
like
week
really
15, but he didn't.
They're taking their time with him.
Yeah, no, which I thought, like, I was kind of from the get-go saying, like, he's probably not going to play till December, like, and I know my co-host of the Packers Pod is like, oh, you might come back till October. It's Bach. Let's be cautious here, and I think, frankly, like, he's so experienced that I'm not worried that if he doesn't play a game until hopefully the divisional round, hopefully the Packers get that first round bye, but if that's the case, like, I feel like you're not too worried about him being too rusty if that's the first game he plays.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I'd be really cautious and patient.
Yeah.
But just to the talk of the MVP, like, I'm trying to look back, like, who's the last MVP to win the Super Bowl? Is it Kurt Warner in 99?
It might be Kurt Warner, actually. It might be Kurt Warner. I've known every time we get to the Super Bowl, though, and they get to talking about the MVP, and they talk about how the MVP is never the Super Bowl. I mean, never goes to the Super Bowl, never wins Super Bowl. Like, I think I remember vividly when Cam and the Panthers had went to the Super Bowl.
So I'm looking, there's Cam, and then the year after Matt Ryan, and then the year after that, Tom Brady, 2017. That got you again, Danny. 3 straight years where the MVP lost in the Super Bowl. And actually, then 2018, I guess Patrick Mahomes lost in the AFC Championship game. But yeah, so there was 3 straight years where the MVP lost in the Super Bowl. And then Rodgers got the MVP in 2014. Let's not go back there. And then Peyton Manning, 2013, another MVP losing in the Super Bowl. So
it's nasty.
And then Peyton Manning, 2009. So there's a lot more quarterbacks that have won the MVP and lost in the Super Bowl since Kurt Warner won it all in 1999. But what? So
want Rodgers winning MVP. Like, let's just focus on winning football games, getting to the Super Bowl, and winning the divisional game, then winning the conference championship, and then going to the Super Bowl.
But yeah, I think if I'm counting it correctly, since Warner won the MVP and the Super Bowl, both 8 quarterbacks have won the MVP and lost in the Super Bowl. So it's not a great record for that. So I love Jonathan Taylor as a player, so I really hope it's him.
Yeah, go all the way, because the Colts aren't going to anyone's Super Bowl. So yeah,
what is happening?
They wouldn't be going to the playoffs if it wasn't for Jonathan Taylor. Like, Carson Wentz led team, no, but a Jonathan Taylor led team with Carson Wentz at quarterback that could make the playoffs. That could maybe even win the division this year.
Who would have thought that all Carson needed was a 1,000-yard rusher?
Especially without a D. Henry in the lineup. Oh yeah, like, fam, hand this ball off to Jonathan Taylor. Just keep the Titans' offense off the field. You're going to win that division. Speaking of division, who do you guys think had the nastiest loss of this past week?
To go with your win, it's got to be the Cardinals, right?
It was a nasty loss by them, is it not? Because you would think you're essentially 1 game up on the rest of the conference. If you went out, like, you have this number 1 seed locked up, and you cannot lose this game because this is a trap game. And boy, they fell right into that trap, and it was a nasty trap too. Because they were undefeated on the road. They were I think they were fresh off a loss, so you knew they were going to be a little bit angry. They had gotten Chase Edmonds back, so they had that 2-headed monster back. And then you go to Detroit, a team that the Steelers couldn't beat, a team that the Vikings couldn't beat. That's been giving a lot of people good games, but has also been pissing these games away. And not only do they beat you from start to finish, like, it really wasn't a game. It really wasn't a game. I agree. I think that was a nasty, nasty loss. I think a runner-up to that, the New York Giants. Dog, it's nasty out here. Why are y'all rolling out Mike Glennon? 1 win since, like, 2014? It's nasty. It's nasty.
I mean, it can't be. I mean, Jake Fromm can't be any better. That's true.
Nah, when Jake Fromm,
they don't have a choice. I mean, if it sounds like, because, like, isn't the report that Daniel Jones, like, he's not coming back this year? Like, it's like he's too hurt that it's done. Like, so like, if you want to win games, Glennon, I think, gives you a way better chance than Jake Fromm, personally. So I don't blame that decision.
The thing is, so when Jake Fromm came in, it was like towards the end of that 4th. Oh, thank you. My dog's barking. When Jake Fromm came in that 4th, he was actually moving the ball. That was the game I was watching on Sunday. He was moving the ball. So then I was like, and he had, like, real command of the offense. Like, he was getting people lined up, and he had the line of scrimmage. He telling people what they need to run, and he moving the ball downfield. And I'm like, Okay, I think the drive ended with a turnover, but they was moving all right. Now to Kyle's point about Daniel Jones, I don't know. They may have shut him down because of that neck injury, but part of me thinks they were like, Daniel, we've seen you play enough. It's up for you, dog. We don't want. Matter of fact, we don't want to mess up your trade value. Go ahead, sit on down, dog. Go ahead, sit on down, big dog. You good? You good? We
Trade
don't want to see no
value.
more.
Who is that desperate? I'd love to talk
Yeah,
to
no, I was
those
gonna
GMs.
say.
Ooh.
One more loss, if I can throw in there, the Bucks. And I was wondering, like, how often does the Tom Brady offense get shut out? So I just kind of, I was listening, but I also kind of went through his game log. If I'm reading it correctly, this is only the third time in his career he's been shut out, that's almost surprising that is that high in a sense. It's crazy how long he's played for that it's only happened 3 times. It hasn't happened since 2006. That was the last time that he was shut out, and it was against the Dolphins.
I was getting ready to say it's always the damn Dolphins. The Dolphins
Yeah.
are the new Dolphins for him.
Dog.
Yeah, really, division opponents. And I remember the first one happened, I think I saw it was 2003. That might have also been the Buffalo. So all 3 times he's been shut out have been division rivals. That's...
Listen,
because y'all remember when he was at when he was in the Patriots, when he had the Patriots, that at Dolphins game used to just give them hell every year. Like every year they would travel down to South Florida.
The Kenyon Drake lateral?
Yeah,
the one that was returned, the Gronk kind of stumbling, couldn't make the tackle there. That's a nice image, right?
Gronk saw that play. He was like, "Man, I can't play. I can't play no more, dog." I think he retired that summer, actually. And now the Saints, it's like they're like these divisional opponents. And Kyle, we know this. Like when it comes to like, it's like us with Minnesota. Like Minnesota just randomly gives us games, or like for no reason. Or Detroit, Detroit like randomly will play us hard.
There was a period where there was 2 straight years where the Lions swept the Packers.
Yeah.
And it was the Lions weren't that good. I mean, it was Stafford, but yeah, they were 0-2 against Lions 4 straight years. And then the next 2, I believe, were the 2 where the Packers won both games without leading at any point. Like both wins were Mason Crosby last-second field goals. And that was the first time they were leading all game, right? So like they almost went 0-6 against Lions at one point.
Yeah.
And like that was like a couple of years. I mean, if you're going 0-2 against the Lions, I think those are 2 of the years where the Packers missed the playoffs. So like one of those would have been the year where Rodgers had the collarbone fracture. I definitely remember one of those games. It was the season finale, and Rodgers was kind of dealing with the knee thing all year. He got hit on the first play of the game, and they took him out. And okay, Matt Flynn, you're finishing the game. We're not risking this for next season, right? So, like, I remember that was one of those losses too. But still, like, there's a couple of those games where it's Aaron Rodgers, and they were trying to win, and they could not beat the Lions. So, divisional games are weird in the NFL.
Divisional games are weird because, and I think I was talking to someone about this a couple days ago. NFL teams built their rosters to win their division and then like the conference, because if you win your division, you at least are guaranteed 1 home game. So you got to look at who's the cream of the crop in your division. We got to set up our roster to beat them. Danny, in y'all's division, I mean, come on, you know who the top dog is. Everyone's trying to figure out how do we guard Amari, CD, and all these guys. In our division,
it's not Washington, the defending champs?
No. If you guys are paying attention, the Eagles are losing 7-0 right now and are struggling. Oh, there's Jalen with the 3rd down conversion. Okay, we back in business.
I was gonna say I've got the Eagles defense starting tonight, and I really need them to.
Down 7-0.
Yeah, kind of counting on Kyle Allen being not good. So
the worst loss of the week is if the Eagles lose to Washington. But as we stand right now, I'm with you guys. I don't know if I was watching a football game or a movie on Brazzers.com, the way the Cardinals was running through Detroit, the way Detroit ran through the Cardinals. I didn't know what I was watching. I was expecting it to get cut off because they violated.
Man, like the Jared Goff throw to Amon-Ra St. Brown, buddy just stepped in the pocket, delivered a dart. I said, "Yo,
Sean McVay must have been in his ear on Sunday because he played like he was in LA."
He was like, "Hey, Jared, go ahead, dog, go ahead."
It's funny. The 2 quarterbacks that Jared Goff has beaten without Sean McVay are Kyler Murray and Kirk Cousins.
Crazy.
It's wild. It's wild. Since we're talking about divisions, let's talk about the other North division, the AFC North, that is, which is quickly turning into what is now the tightest division in football outside of maybe the NFC West, depending on how the Rams-Seahawks game goes. So Bengals, Steelers, Ravens, and Browns, I think all technically have a chance to win the division. I think it depends on how things shake out. So I guess based on the schedules of these of the teams in the AFC North, who do you guys think has the best chance to win the division? And also, who do you think of the teams that from the AFC North that do end up making the playoffs? Who do you think can make the deepest playoff run? Danny, let's start with you, dog.
So I actually sat down and wrote down their schedule. So I'll read off the schedule so everyone we're on the same page. For the Steelers, they have to go to Kansas City this week at home against Cleveland, and they have to go to Baltimore. The Bengals have Baltimore this weekend at home. They have the Chiefs at home. Then they have to go to Cleveland. The Ravens have to go to Cincinnati this weekend. Then they have 2 games against the Rams and the Steelers at home. And then the Browns have to go to Green Bay Saturday night. Then they're at Pittsburgh, and then they're at home against Cincinnati for the finale. So for me, if Lamar Jackson's healthy, this is the Ravens division. It's really not much of a conversation. If Lamar is not healthy, then it's the Bengals division. It belongs to Cincinnati. And it's the same thing for me. Like, best team to make a run. If Lamar Jackson's healthy, the Ravens have the best chance to make a run. And if not, then I'm going to give it to Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Okay.
None of those schedules seem easy. Like, all of them, they all play each other, and then all of them have a tough out of division games. So I'm really just going to boil down to like who's going to win those head-to-head games. Honestly, I feel like Cincinnati has been doing that this year. They've been winning a lot of those head-to-head games. I think they've got the best division record in that division, I believe. So. And it just seems like, like they're the one team that's been like with the Steelers. It's been close games with them and every other team except the Bengals. Like they wiped the floor with the Steelers that one game. So D, kind of what you were talking about earlier, right? Teams find ways to build their team to win their division. It seems like the Bengals have, and I mean the head-to-head. I guess this week coming up between them and the Ravens probably decides who wins the division. And at home, I mean, the Bengals beat the Ravens in Baltimore last time, and without knowing who the quarterback is in Cincinnati, I think the Bengals win the game and win the division.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, for playoff run though, I still think it's Baltimore. I'm going to trust the coaching there. Zach Taylor, maybe not as, I don't think Zach Taylor has floundered yet. Like, I don't know, Cliff Kingsbury, right? Because here's the thing about the Cardinals. This lost the Lions, if you think about their season as a whole, didn't really come out of nowhere. Remember early on in the season, they were down and like they were losing bad to Jacksonville at halftime. Like even into the fourth quarter, they were losing. And then like Murray sort of just pulled the team out of it in the fourth quarter and they came back and everything was fine. And I think they kept that, they kept their winning streak going, right? Like at that point, they hadn't lost a game yet. Imagine if the Jags were the first team to beat them. But the fact that like the Urban Meyer coach Jaguars even put it that close to them after, like they hadn't, like at that point, I don't think they had won a game yet. They had looked awful. And that was like the first time they showed signs of life. I think the loss to the Bengals on the Thursday night was the following week. So like that was, okay, maybe the Jags were kind of figuring something out there, kind of putting, close wins together. But the fact that like this Cliff Kingsbury coach team almost lost to the Jags, just lost the Lions. Those are probably the 2 worst teams in the NFL. I believe they're 1 and 2 right now in the draft standings. That coach, concerns me. So I'm less concerned coaching wise with Zach Taylor than I am with Cliff, but I still think he doesn't stack up necessarily to the other coaches in the divisions or in the conference. So I think the Bengals will win the division, but I think if the Ravens make it, we'll go further in the playoffs.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Who knows? Maybe that's the wild card game. It's Bengals Ravens, and in the playoffs, even if it's in Cincinnati, that's a new beast. That's where the experience of the Ravens might take it. So anyway, I'll stop rambling and I'll let you guys speak on it.
No, that makes sense. And before I say anything, shout out to our guy Eric in the chat. What's up, guys? Let's go Cowboys. I don't know. Let's go.
Never, not in this show.
He also said to your
seems
point,
like Eric's stoking the fantasy BBQ here, trying to flip these guys off.
Yeah.
Sorry.
To answer the question, I think I honestly think now this is going to sound wild. I think the Steelers are going to mess around and win the division, but I think the Ravens are going to mess around and have the deepest playoff run. I think when it comes to the 2 Ohio teams, they're going to be the 2 Ohio teams that we know, and they're going to find ways to lose. Like what I can see happening is that Cincinnati's going to put themselves in a position to win the division, and they're going to piss it down their leg. And the Steelers are just going to
Piss it down their leg.
And the Steelers are going to like stumble forward and win the division, and then get to the wild card round. I could see the Steelers and the Ravens playing like that, like back-to-back weeks, right? Because they may end the season playing each other, right? Or am I wrong?
And isn't that what happened to the Steelers last year, where they lost? They ended up playing the Browns in the wild card round and losing it.
It might have been. Yes, they did play. They did play the Browns wild card week.
That was Stefanski wasn't there, so Chris Jones was coaching. And I mean, in some CFL news, he just got himself a nice gig as head coach and general manager of the Edmonton Elks. So nice. I guess team he won the Grey Cup with, I guess about a half decade ago, kind of full circle there. But yeah, Chris Jones coached Browns, beat the Steelers last year in the playoffs, and wasn't that not close? Like, didn't they wasn't it like 20-0 at halftime with Ben threw a bunch of picks?
Nasty. Yeah. That's why I'm saying, like, I think just based off of coaching, I think based off of personnel, I think based off of being able to put together a game plan for 1 week to win a pivotal playoff game, I can see the Steelers stumbling forward, winning that division, playing the Ravens the very next week, and that game not being close. And Lamar Jackson doing, for my ancestors and Danny's as well, sending Big Ben home with a big old fat goodbye. Hope we never see you again in the NFL, buddy.
Oh God. But just to your, sorry, Danny.
Go ahead, Kyle. Jalen Hurts just fumbled in the red zone. The Eagles have 2 turnovers. Jesus help.
Should have played the Washington defense. But just like to your credit, Danny, like you mentioned it earlier, talking about like how tight this division is. I mean, Bengals are first at 8-6. The Browns are last at 7-7. Like literally a game separating first and last place. No other division has that, really. So like it definitely is the tightest in the NFL. It's certainly the most competitive.
Kyle, can you believe that with a chance to be right at the top of your division, all you got to do is win? The Cleveland Browns went out there and lost to the Las Vegas Raiders. It's nasty. Like, it's like the Browns are going to Brown, and I expect the Browns to Brown. Wouldn't surprise me if the Browns, whoever they play, who they play this week?
Us.
They play
us.
Y'all. It wouldn't surprise me if they come out here and give us a game, and we either lose at the very end or we steal one from them. Like, I feel the Browns are going to brown it up in some way these next couple weeks, where they're just going to piss a perfectly golden opportunity to go to the playoffs. And I think they're going to give us a game because they run the ball really, really well. Mm-hmm. And if you know Packers defense, teams who run the football, they're going to give us hell. 60 minutes. Well,
especially if Kenny Clark isn't off the COVID list in time for that game. I think that's where that could get to be a real problem, because frankly, I mean, Nick Chubb might be like, I guess Jonathan Taylor's really taking that mantle, but those might be the 2 best running backs in the NFL, just like pure running ability, especially. And I know they don't usually catch
now when healthy, because I still got to ride that nobody out here better than D. Henry. That's my number one guy. That's fair. D. Henry's still that dude until y'all realize. I think he still might be like top 10, top 15 in rushing, like still.
Oh, I think he's top 5 still. Like he was third up until like last weekend. Like
like he is.
I'll check now, but he
was on a crazy pace. And to anyone out here who's in my fantasy league that's watching this, you are lucky.
Yes, you are.
That's the fantasy gods letting me know my team was too good.
Same here.
He's 5th right now in rushing yards. Yeah, with only 8 games, he had 931. He almost had 1,000-yard season in literally less than half a season. Najee Harris is 6th at 891. Like, I think he can muster up 40 yards to get that. Zeke's at 862. Antonio Gibson 836. But then, Austin Eckler is 11th at 789. Like, what? I think Derrick Henry's definitely going to finish the year in the top 10.
Which is funny. You would think Austin Eckler has more rushing yards, but I'm thinking of more scrimmage yards because he does way more. All right. Well, let's shift a little bit to a little basketball talk. Little basketball.
Go talk. Raptors.
Go Raptors.
Go Raptors.
Hey, they beat the Warriors. Without Steph Curry,
we're just getting ready to talk about the Warriors. So that's perfect. So now, speaking of the Warriors, Steph Curry is now the league's all-time leader in 3-point field goals. along with a few other 3-point records. So just sticking on Steph, sticking on basketball, where do you guys rank Steph Curry among the all-time great point guards in NBA history?
That's
Cal,
tough.
I can go first if you need to think about it.
Yeah. I'll need some time. You guys are the more the basketball experts than me for sure. So
I sat down and wrote this out. I have no particular order, but he's top 5. Like
Easily.
I got Magic, I got
That's
Oscar
my number one.
Robertson, Isaiah Thomas, John Stockton. And this isn't no order. This is just top 5, and then Steph rounds out the 5.
Okay, I have the same top 3. My 4 is Allen Iverson, and then Steph.
Okay. Was Iverson was a 2 though? He wasn't a point. He played 2. Eric Snow was the point. Iverson was the point,
and that's what I was wondering. So like I'm assuming Kobe doesn't count in this, right?
You know,
yeah, Kobe was a 3. Kobe's a 2.
Kobe was a for sure 2. Kobe was a 2. Kobe was 2.
Okay. So that's because my first instinct was, Magic. I think Magic's kind of the standard, right? Honestly, maybe it's my Canadian bias, but frankly, if I'm talking about building a team with a point guard, passing ability has to be up there. And I mean, Curry's amazing at passing too, and he's definitely, I would say, he's a better shooter than everybody, but I think Steve Nash definitely deserves credit to be up there. I might go. My top 3 might be Magic, Steph, Steve, Nash in that order.
I gave the nod to Steph because he's won championships, even though he's never won Finals MVP. So that might be your knock. The argument against it is Steph never won Finals MVP.
I'm gonna throw a name out there that no one here mentioned, maybe because he doesn't have a Finals MVP. Chris Paul. We have to put him in there. Who wanted him?
He is right. Chris Paul is top 7 to 10, not top 5. Like I will put Steph over Chris Paul because of championships.
Okay. Well, okay.
Chris Paul had those Clipper teams. Like those Clipper teams were stacked.
But he's been. I think outside of him not being able to win a ring, which is a damning thing on his record, he's put every team he's been on in position to win. He's
never won MVP.
They just didn't
doesn't
win.
even have the individual accolades. Like he's never won MVP. He went to the finals for the first time last year. Like he's an all-star, he's all-pro, but he's never won like the awards, right? Like Steph has.
He's always ran into. He's always been. Unfortunately, he's ran into them teams.
He ran into Steph.
Yeah, like he ran into them teams.
He ran into Steph.
Like the Harden Rocket, Harden the Rockets, fam. That game 7 to this day, like watching it live, it is. Babe, your heart almost hurt for the city of Houston because it's like
my heart didn't hurt for the city of Houston at all.
Well, not because I love James Harden. You know that's one of my favorite players, and it's honestly hurting me to see him playing at such a pedestrian level right now. But it was just like, fam, at what point in these 17 straight missed threes does someone say, "Let's just take the easy 2"?
Nope, not Mike D'Antoni's.
Not D'Antoni's system.
Mike said, "We're gonna die in this joint. We're gonna die in this inferno."
Hey, if you're down big, the only way to come back after missing a bunch of threes is to keep shooting threes, right?
Yeah. I was because like after like missed 3 number like 5 or 6, you got to be like, all right, somebody let's get a layup. Let's just see a point. Let's just see a bucket go through.
Get a foul. Get something. No, we're just jacking up threes, baby.
Yeah, we just jacking up threes. I got another question for y'all. What do you think is more likely? Steph Curry winning the NBA MVP this year, or the Warriors meeting the Nets in the NBA Finals this year?
Sorry, can you say that 2 again?
What do you think is more likely to happen? Steph Curry winning the NBA MVP award this year, or the Golden State Warriors meeting the Brooklyn Nets in the NBA Finals this year?
Again, I haven't really been following, but like, is Curry not the favorite to win the MVP?
Yeah,
I would say it's between him and Durant
and Jokic. We will not forget Jokic. And Embiid put his name on that list last night because he dominated.
Okay, so that almost sounds like it's at worst a 25% chance that he wins it, as opposed to like as much as arguably the Warriors and the Nets are the 2 best teams in the NBA, but and I know we had that era where like it was the Warriors and the Cavs every year and they got there, but how often do the 2 best teams really make it every year, right? And so that's my hesitation. I think that's having both of them make it is probably less than 25% chance, just because I think there are more than 2 teams in each conference that we think are capable of making it. So I would say it's more likely that Steph wins the MVP. And that's just numbers. I like math, so that's where I'm going with. That's about as mathematical as I can make it.
That's a great point, because I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, NBA MVP, it's like, okay, you get to the playoffs. It's really all about matchups. Like, it's really all about matchups. The Warriors can get a bad matchup second round that could really give them hell. I'm going to assume they're going to sweep whoever they play in the first round. Could be us. Who knows? But I imagine they're going to sweep whoever they play first round. So now you're going to talk about second round, like the second and third, like that semifinals and conference finals, like depending on matchups and who they want to throw at you and how they decide to defend you, it could give you a long, long day. So I'm with you, Kyle. I think Steph is likely the front runner for the MVP, and I think he's going to end up winning just off the fact that he's having a great year. The Warriors having a great year, and he's breaking these impressive records in record time. I mean, when you really think about the numbers that it took him to break this 3-point record and the time that it took, it's insane. When he finishes his career, I think that record is going to be like John Stockton's assist record. Like, it's just chalk it up to the game, dog. You're not touching it. You're not touching it.
And the other thing too is I think we can guarantee he's either going to be 1 or 2 in MVP voting. Like you're saying, maybe Kevin Durant comes on, but like we can't really guarantee that for those teams. And I also think what helps his case is look how bad the Warriors were without him last year.
Yeah, it's great.
As soon as he's back, they're back to the top of the standings. And I mean, Clay coming back. Because Thompson is back healthy this year, right? Or healthy?
Yeah, he should be coming back.
Yeah, he might come back next week, right? Christmas.
Yeah.
Next Saturday, right?
January.
So the fact that he's been able to do this kind of on his own, I think, that pushes it to like, okay, KD's not there anymore. Clay hasn't come back, and I mean, once he's back, it's not like he's going to be 100% Clay Thompson right off the bat, game 1. But the fact that he's been able to kind of do it without all them, and they're still they are number 1 in the West, right?
Yeah.
Number 1
so
out there in the West.
And I was just looking at some stuff on Chris Paul, like the individual stuff. 4 times he was the assist leader in the NBA. 6 times, 6 times he was the leader in steals.
Yes, he is a.
So to your guys' credit, like the talk that he should be considered like for sure top 10 point guard in the NBA history does make sense.
Yeah,
Kyle,
the knock on him is just that he hasn't been able to like win the big one. Like, if the Suns win the chip last year, the narrative on Chris Paul was changed. Like, because I remember during that run, they're essentially saying the Suns were winning because of Chris Paul's leadership. They were basically saying Chris Paul's leadership was the 6th man on that team. And I was like, all right, now we're gassing it, but I see what y'all doing. Y'all are pushing this agenda. Soon as Giannis came in there and started shaking some things up, they went from Chris Paul's leadership to Giannis is just too dominant. That narrative shifted overnight. Like they just cut on the lights. I also don't think that in terms of the Warriors and the finals, Warriors and the Nets both making it to the finals, it's gonna be hard for the Nets, dog. It is gonna be hard for the Nets because the East is competitive. Like there are a lot of good teams, and then if you think about the Brooklyn Nets, they bring back Kyrie, and a day later he goes into COVID protocol, which is
crazy. Man, that was fun.
Hilarious. James Harden's playing pedestrian. Like he's not the James Harden that we know and love, still adjusting to these rules. So now it's like it's KD. KD's just willing this team right now. And how long can that really go for? I don't know. What you think, Danny?
As long as KD doesn't get hurt the entirety of his career, maybe, to be fair. Like he's just that special of a player though, right? Like he can, like you can sustain that and he can get a team far. But I think like with Milwaukee, like I know they were were they the 4 or the 5 seed last year?
They were the
3.
They were the
okay.
3.
Which I mean, to be fair, like usually in NBA, it's usually the 1 or 2 seed making it to the finals every year. But like so to see a 3 seed is maybe slightly unusual. Like even the Raptors, I think, were the 2 seed when they came out of it, so it wasn't like out of completely nowhere. But like for the Bucks, I mean, again, they were the number 1 seed that year, and the Raptors beat them. Like it was something that they had kind of built up, and they had gone through stages. Whereas like with the Suns last year, like all of a sudden. Right? I mean, they weren't in the playoffs one year, and then you're in the finals the next year. So, as much as what's the coach's name? He's brilliant.
Monty Williams.
Yeah, it's Monty Williams.
Yeah, Monty Williams. I know. Like, it's funny because my wife, she likes a few sports, but definitely not football, but not really basketball either. But I remember when I was watching the finals, she happened to be watching it, and it was showing on. What's the young center there for the Suns?
DeAndre
Ayton. He was having a really bad half, and like he seemed really down on himself, and it just showed him like going over and like like getting down to his level, like physically, like on a knee, and just like to like help him physically raise up his energy, and just like the things he did like psychologically to kind of motivate that team. Like she like noticed it right away, like, oh, that's incredible coaching. And it's like, oh yeah, what's like I don't care about basketball, but like, you know, just like that, it's remarkable for even those that are just casually watching sports, like how great of a coach he is.
Mhm.
But it's still, as great as that is, it still takes time to get that whole team gelling year after year to win those championships. It's tough to win titles. Like we're saying, like we'd actually know what it takes to win a professional sports title. I know D, like you know, college, you're quite the athlete, certainly compared to Danny and I, but like that level of alpha athlete is just like, it's incomprehensible psychologically for a lot of people. And so credit to the coaches who can like find a way to get into players, because it's not easy.
That's why when they say when you find a good coach, you gotta keep them. That's why I didn't like the Eagles letting go of Doug Peterson.
Hey man, I didn't like it either.
I mean, really, they should just never have let go of Andy Reid. That's the real problem.
Another conversation, another painful conversation.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, you think if Andy Reid's still in Philadelphia, he drafts Patrick Mahomes? Yeah.
Oh, one can only hope.
He probably would have made a way to make it work with Carson Wentz. Like he would have. Like, and I mean, to be fair, Carson Wentz had a good season. It really is just what was it? Was it like, I guess it was 2020, right? Like his 2020 season was just so awful that the Eagles, we don't have a choice.
Starter in the NFL last year.
I think Sam Darnold was the only week one starter with less touchdowns than him,
which is pathetic. And now look at him. Now all he needed was a guy who could rush for 1,500 yards. That was it.
But you just can't find that every day.
That's all the Eagles had to do was find a 1,500-yard rusher. But I'm with you guys. Steph winning MVP is more likely than the Warriors. I will say, D, you said matchups. Like, what matchup in the West do you think the Warriors do not want to see? Like, is it the Nuggets?
Nuggets are one if they maybe get Jamal Murray back and he's healthy. I think
go Canada.
I think when it comes to matchups for the Warriors, like any team, and I can't think of teams off the top of my head, any teams that have like those athletic guards and wings that can like press up on Steph and pressure him, like full court pressure him, like everywhere he goes, it's tough for him. And we've seen it happen before where like with the right matchups, I mean, you can like really slow down Steph. And luckily, in the times that he's been shut down, he's had a stone cold killer right next to him, and Klay Thompson, who's like, "Hey, big bro, I got you, dog. Don't even worry about it." Hey,
so then, last year's West champions, the Suns, are they a team that, again, now that they've had that experience of going to finals, are they a team that's more equipped to handle that play? I mean, they handled it well last year, but to get back there,
I don't know, because if Chris Paul is guarding Steph, or if Devin Booker,
they're putting Michael Bridges on Steph.
He's on Steph.
He's probably like their most versatile defender. That's why, honestly, I think that's why the Suns are like still like doing really well, because outside the cohesiveness, they have like a lot of good role players who understand their role. They're really versatile guards and defenders. So
coached team.
You put the right guy.
Should have paid DeAndre Ayton.
Yeah, DeAndre Ayton. You can put Booker, Paul, and Bridges on Steph. Then you can maybe have Cam Johnson take Klay. Now you got DeAndre Ayton on what's buddy name? Boss Man 99. Jay Crowder on Draymond. I mean, they could the Suns match up well with the Warriors. I think the game, hopefully Christmas Day, if it still happens, is going to be a good one. But I don't even know who's going to be playing in that game. But we'll see. We'll see. All right. I guess it's the part of the show where Danny, we do a little fantasy football. It's my weekly fantasy football commissioner chat. So Kyle, so a little background here. So as you know, me and Danny are in a fantasy league together. Danny's team, unfortunately, was not able to join me in the fantasy league playoffs this year. I won, so I'm actually off this week with a bye in the league that we shared together. But for everyone who was watching last week, I did give everyone an update that I was able to take 4 teams to the fantasy playoffs. And I had 2 teams playing this previous week, or this week that's still going on, which happened to be my 2 most expensive leagues, both $100 buy-ins. One prize of $900, the other one of $700. Happy to come back and report, looking like I'm going to be 2-0 this week in these leagues. So it's looking like I'm going into next week's round with 4 semifinal teams, which is very, very exciting. I want to give a shout out to Alvin Kamara and that game that the New Orleans Saints had, because essentially Alvin Kamara not having a big game solidified this win for me. So I'm feeling good heading into next week or this upcoming week. I'm thinking of these 4 teams. Obviously, the goal is for all 4 of them to win. But if I can get 1 or 2 to win this week and go to next week, I'm feeling really good about my chances to bring home.
For sure. And I guess I hinted at it in the comments section last week. I made the playoffs in 9 of my 21 leagues, which I think prompted the question of Danny of how I managed that. So we can talk about that if you want.
Yes, please.
Oh, 21 leagues? 21 leagues? How do you keep up with that? Tell me.
Well, I mean, the keep up maintenance in terms of like doing the research every week. I'm doing a ton of research, like independent of the leagues, right? Like my goal line guide, which I write for Full Press Coverage. And I'm doing all this fantasy research anyway, that it seems like if I were to play for, as opposed to say 7 or 8, like the work really wouldn't be more different because I'm doing so much research that like whether it's 1 league or 7 league, it's about the same amount of effort. And then like you eventually get to the point where 21 isn't that bad to manage. And Tuesday mornings, I guess this week will be Wednesday, but Tuesday go in, set what I call my instinctive lineup. What's my like gut instinct telling me to set these players in my lineup? And I'll do like the complex, tough decision making later in the week, but just kind of like just to have a lineup set and then go through waivers for all the leagues. It's just kind of, bit of a grind, but you keep the strict regiment of the ritual. Every day there's kind of something to do, right? Okay, Tuesdays, or in this case this week Wednesdays, are waivers, just updating my rankings, getting matchups set. Wednesday, Thursday, I'm really looking specifically at that Thursday night game, deciding, okay, kind of looking on teams, making a yes/no decision. Okay, this player plays on Thursday, yes, are they in the lineup or no? Kind of just looking, okay, is it close? And then focus on the league where it's really close decisions, but mostly just that Thursday night, just decide for Thursday, yes or no, and then the rest of the weekend, Friday, Saturday night is when I kind of go through all my lineup decisions every week. I do a spreadsheet just to kind of everything that's kind of difficult. I kind of go through, and I actually was doing live streams for Full Press Coverage this year, and on Sunday mornings I would kind of just share my spreadsheet with everyone, just kind of show like what am I doing, like why am I deciding one player over another, like what are the factors I'm looking in. Like I mentioned, I've got my goal line guide, which I write every week for Full Press Coverage. It's just what I do is I look at each offense's efficiency inside the 5-yard line, inside like their opponent's 5-yard line when they're within 5 yards of scoring a touchdown, both running and passing efficiency, but also the teams on defense. How good are they at defending plays inside their own 5 as well, and allowing or preventing touchdowns. And essentially just kind of my way of better predicting touchdowns for fantasy. I think a lot of what you hear with fantasy analysis is, okay, year to year, touchdowns aren't sticky. Like it's really tough to predict. You kind of have to get lucky. And while that is true, what can we do to add luck in our favor? Like what are factors to look at to kind of point in the right direction of where touchdowns may come? Anyway, so that's what that is. And I just look at a lot of different factors. Offensive line rankings I look at. Football Outsiders has, they've got the DVOA. I don't know if you guys heard of where DVOA, and so I look at a lot of different sites do their version of DVOA, but I use Football Outsiders usually. Again, could all the information there, that their offensive line rankings, and they also divide that running and passing. So like I'll factor that in if I'm looking at the run grade for running backs, passing grade for all the other positions. So yeah, so I just kind of, again, it's a ritual. Kind of every day there's something to do, and the consistency behind it is the key, right? Is making sure every league gets checked, and yeah, so. And once it gets to the playoffs, there's obviously 11 leagues didn't make the playoffs, so I can kind of not have to worry about them these next 3 weeks and focus in solely on those 9. It looks like I'm going to go at least four of the. I got 3 first-round buys, one of which the playoffs started week 14, so this is the semifinal this week. And so of the 7 matchups this week, I'm going to win at least 4. It looks like that one that's the semifinal. That's kind of in the balance. I was up by 6 entering these games tonight with that's the one where I've got the Eagles defense, I've got Cooper Kupp, and my opponent has Metcalf, Rashad Penny, and Darrell Henderson. So it could go any which way. Like Cooper Kupp could have such a monster game that it makes enough of a difference that the others don't do well enough, or like Henderson gets all the work, gets a couple touchdowns, Penny gets all the work, gets a couple touchdowns, and I don't even have a chance. So like even now, like we're an hour into those games, I'm not even really sure one way or the other how that matches up's going to go. So it could be 4-3 this week, could be 5-2 in the playoffs, but either way, looking like a decent fantasy season. A couple of my biggest buy-ins, one I didn't make the playoffs, but another one I did. Got that one's a 24-team 2-copy league, and so we had actually 4 rounds of playoffs. So the kind of a all play between the 2 conferences. 1 and 2 get the first round bye last week, and then the rest of us who didn't, 3, 4, 5, 6 seed, all played against each other, and it wasn't head to head, just the 2 highest teams advanced. And then starting this week here, 15, now it's head to head. I kind of crushed my opponent in that one, so I'm getting to the semifinals there. So that'll be a nice kind of payday if I can win that buy-in. I think the buy-in was about $110, and a lot of it goes to the winners. I think I got $50 back already for being the highest scoring team. So hoping to like maximize the profits of that league. But yeah, that's just a little bit of my fantasy portfolio. So thanks for letting me speak on it, Chair.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I love that idea. Danny, okay, I'm going to ask you this, Danny, because we're in the same league. Mm-hmm. What would you think, like, as part of maybe next year, I introduce some legislation to the league saying to keep guys interested and keep this league competitive, not only is the winner going to get $350, but at the end of the regular season, the highest scoring team just gets a free $50.
Yeah, I think that'll keep a lot of people because
then everyone has to play.
So yeah, some people just kind of fell off once they knew they weren't going to make the playoffs.
And I think the other thing too is that even in leagues where there's no money, you can incentivize the points by saying, like in the league rulebook, the final playoff spot will go to the first 5 teams by record, and then the 6th spot is for those teams that aren't in already. Whoever's the most points gets that 6th spot.
Oh,
so it's not the 6th spot in the playoffs isn't based on record. It's just based on points. I've got a couple leagues that do that. And again, it kind of, I know there was one league where I almost made the playoffs with a 4-10 record because the last spot is most points for, and I just had bad luck in that league. And I missed it by 1 point. With what would have been a 4-10 team make the playoffs. I know in one of my other leagues I made the playoffs by 1 point. So the way I see it, okay, that's karma kind of giving me both ends of it. And like that 4-10 team like may have snuck in, but probably wasn't going to do good. That other team that just snuck in by 1 point, looking like I'm going to win this week. So I was up by about, I think it was 90 points, and my opponent had Matthew Stafford and another player playing time. I can't remember who, but it like to get 90 points combined from both seems really difficult. So I think the luck maybe favored me there. This is the one league where you actually might be able to make some noise in the playoffs. So we'll let you join there. So thanks.
Yeah,
I like these ideas. Like, because we play, and obviously we play on the ESPN. So I wonder like if there's some ways. And I can look at this maybe during the off season. Like if I can look at there's ways to set up maybe who makes the playoffs. Because I like that. I'm gonna be honest with you. I like that number 6 seed just being points for, because I don't know who was the 6 seed this year. It was Tad. Yeah, it was the guy, the second place in my division, and Danny, did he have a negative record? Did he have a losing record?
Yeah, he and I had the same record. I beat the brakes off him in the last week of this season.
Like I would easily do it by points for the 6 seed, and I love the idea of at the end of the regular season, the person with the highest scoring team in the regular season just gets a free 50. That'll keep everyone in the way.
Maybe they get their buy-in back or something, right? Like whatever their buy-in is, you get that back.
I like that. I think it's a great idea. Yo, Kyle, that's
genius.
That's genius.
I did. All right, credit to the commissioners I've had that have had good leagues for that. So won't give myself all the credit.
Shout out to the good commissioners out here. You get one good commissioner, it'll have you thinking about fantasy a little bit.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So I don't know if you guys saw in that Bucks game, Chris Godwin, who took a nasty hit. Shout out to, prayers up to him. Hope you're recovering well. He ended up tearing his ACL. So after the game, Bruce Arians was kind of asked, about Antonio Brown, because as you guys know, Antonio Brown got suspended for the fake back scar. Antonio, you can't do that, dog. That's a federal offense. That doesn't just
pay your people.
That's a federal offense. What did you guys think of his switcheroo? Essentially, when he was asked, What do you think about like the backlash you're going to get of people who said, why are you bringing back AB after you said you wouldn't give him another chance? And Bruce Arians basically said, I don't really give a shit what y'all think because I'm trying to win. I'm trying to win football games. So what do you guys think about this switcheroo? Like, are you going to call him a hypocrite? Or are you calling them a good coach?
I love the honesty, and that tells me that Tom Brady is in charge. That tells me that Tom said, "Hey, man, your morals mean nothing to me. I'm trying to win the Super Bowl."
Yeah, you said it right there, dude. I don't think I could put that any better.
Because
I mean, really, like, well, here's the thing: hypocrite or not, if they really have a problem with it, they would have just cut him. There was I go back to the CFL. There was an offensive lineman who did something similar to Brownler. He lied about his vaccination status. Edmonton cut him, and the league basically banned all the teams from signing him last season. And we'll see, 2022, maybe he can get back in because I mean, I believe he was one of Edmonton's starting offensive linemen, so a good player. But just the CFL chose to, if you cross that line, you're done. And I wonder if like the NFL gave him the 3-game suspension, but if he wasn't signed with the Bucks, would they do something similar, kind of not let teams sign him or something? Whereas the Bucks really doing him a favor, letting him stay on the roster. It seems they're kind of being lenient with it right from the get-go. So it's I mean, you could call them a hypocrite right away from sticking with him, but I mean, professional sports, you try and win, right?
I'll say this: I think the NFLPA has too much power for someone just to be kicked out like that. I think the Players Association would have no part to that. So I don't know how the player associations work in the CFL, but I know. Yeah, DeMarcus.
Yeah, I know they're union. I remember the last collective bargaining agreement. It's last few years have been kind of record TV deals for the CFL, with TSN, which is the kind of the Canadian affiliate for ESPN. They broadcast every game, so they've gotten really good TV revenue over the last 5 years. And even with that, the players in the last collective bargaining agreement didn't really get much more that time around. So it kind of shows, that maybe the CFLPA not as powerful as the NFLPA. That's a good point.
Speaking of the Bucks and these injuries, what do you guys think about their repeat chances given the injuries to Leonard Fournette, who's likely going to be placed on IR, miss the rest of the season? Mike Evans has a pork tenderloin of a hamstring. Chris Godwin, obviously he tore his ACL. What are you guys thinking about, their repeat chances?
I don't think it hurts them all that much. Obviously, you'd love to have those players back on the field, but I mean, with Evans, they're not even ruling him out for this upcoming week. So seems like he'll be available unless he aggravates the injury or gets another injury further. Outside of that, it seems like he's going to be available for them for all their playoff games. So, and I mean, to me, he might be the best Bucks player in history, really. I was thinking about that recently, just his consistency, 1,000 yards every year, and he's got the ring now. He's part of a Tampa Bay Buccaneers Super Bowl championship, which doesn't happen often. So he really kind of has to be up there. And I mean, I know you think about all the Tampa Bay Bucks legends, mostly defenders. So I think he'd be very easily the best Bucks offensive player in history. So I think as long as you have Mike Evans, and again, with Brown and Gronk, you've got those guys, it sucks losing Godwin, but if you can have the Evans, Brown, and Gronk all, I don't think any of them will be 100%, but all relatively healthy enough for the playoffs. I don't think you're as concerned losing Godwin. And if Fournette can't go, here's the thing, that offensive line is great. And Fournette's made the most of it this season, but it's one of the best offensive lines in the league. So as much as I'm not the biggest fan of Ronald Jones, I think he can do enough for them in the playoffs. So I don't think, if they don't repeat, it's not going to be because of the injuries. It's going to be because just another team just played better.
Because he ran in Aaron Rodgers. Go ahead and say it, Kyle. I know you want to say it's because he ran in Aaron Rodgers.
With David Bakhtiari. They ran into David Bakhtiari, we'll say that. Because running into Aaron Rodgers didn't stop them last year.
Speaking of Aaron Rodgers, he throws to Devontae Adams, who most people universally see is a top 1 wide receiver in the league. Devontae Adams recently came out and said that Justin Jefferson is in that discussion in the top 3 wide receivers in the league. What do you guys think?
Top 5 to 7, not top 3.
Who's keeping him out though? Like, I mean,
Nuke?
like, I think going to this year, we'd probably say Adams and Hopkins were the best two. But given how, availability is the best ability, right? Like, can we really say Hopkins is a top 3 receiver anymore? Given I mean, he's really struggled with Murray compared to what he was kind of doing with Houston. Maybe it's volume based too. I mean, he's still an incredible route runner and probably the best set of hands.
Let's call it for what it is. D-Hop missed number 4 in Houston. We ain't gonna speak on it. But
I mean, to be fair, he had some great seasons without Watson too. Like it wasn't just like really Brock Osweiler was the only quarterback in Houston he couldn't work with. Like he kind of made it work with everyone.
Yo, Brock Osweiler, ski mask Hall of Famer. Like he stole money from organizations.
To be fair, he's also made some of the best contributions to a Super Bowl run from a backup quarterback. Like that win against the Patriots on, I think it was either Sunday or Monday night, that secured the Broncos home field, which kind of factored in on Gostowski missing that point after in that playoff game and kind of really turning the tide there for the Broncos to make it to the Super Bowl in 2015 and ultimately win it. So like, if that game's in New England instead, maybe the Patriots get that win. So like, Osweiler, give his credit to where credit's due. Like obviously the Nick Foles story, we'll keep going back to the 2017 Eagles for you, Danny, but like that's maybe one of the best backup quarterback contributions to a Super Bowl run, but I think Osweiler's up there too.
That's a great point. I forgot about that game. They needed that game too.
So and then yeah, but you're saying he's scheme artist because he fleeced Houston for a bunch of money and they never recovered that money. They had to pay a second round pick just to get him off the team, right? Didn't they? Yeah. They pay a second.
They put a tender
to
on him.
Cleveland to take him. Like they didn't get anything back. Just here's a second, get rid of him. So. Good job, Brock Osweiler. Way to get paid.
Hall of Famer. That's what I want to be like. I want to be like Brock Osweiler, man. I don't want to be Aaron Rodgers. I want to be Brock Osweiler.
But to the question, I think Jefferson's already pretty close, honestly.
Really? I still got Nuke, Adams, and I'll put Hill.
Yeah.
For Jefferson top.
Okay, that's 3.
Yeah, I'm saying like if we're talking about top 5, I throw Jefferson in there, but for me, I
might have to go with. I'm maybe seeing what Kyle's saying though, because like availability is the best ability. So like it's hard for me to judge because, especially as a D-Hop fantasy owner for the second time, and this has happened both times I've drafted him. He's just been unable to stay healthy. I'm thinking like, okay, Devontae's the clear number 1. We got to give Cooper Kupp his flowers. He's doing his thing. He holding it down. Like, granted, he being force fed, but he's holding it down. Tyreek Hill. Then when you start thinking, when you start thinking of like top 3 to 5, it's like, okay, who after Tyreek Hill, who's number 4?
Yeah, Jefferson.
I go Justin Jefferson.
And what he's done at like this age, how young he is pretty remarkable. And you look at who might those other receivers be, D, and a lot of them are those young guys, right? Like you'd maybe point immediately to like an AJ Brown when he's healthy, or a DK Metcalf. How CD Lamb's developing, right? And
Chris Godwin when healthy, he's nasty.
Yeah. Well, Mike Evans, right? We've talked about Mike Evans how many times. He's definitely got to be up there too, I think. But like, I could see the argument where Jefferson's better than all those guys and really does deserve credit as a top 3. So I think if he's not top 3, he's right on the cusp.
Yeah.
Kyle,
Devontae Adams is pretty smart. So if he says something, I'm going to listen too. So there's that.
Too. Kyle, I think I heard Danny say that Devonta Smith should be in the conversation.
Devontae Smith is low-key having an excellent season. I think he's close to
Okay, please hit me with some stats so like I can be like, oh, I didn't know he was doing that.
Let me see. Where is it at?
Yeah, he's having a better rookie season than Jalen Waddle.
I have to check. So right now he has, because he caught a pass earlier, but before the game, 50 receptions, 701 yards, 4 touchdowns. Let's see Jalen Waddle.
Okay, actually those are better numbers than I thought. Then. Yeah,
Devontae's been getting busy. Oh no, Jalen has 86 touchdowns, 86 catches. 849 receiving yards. Yeah, that's how you stop him on defense. And then 4 touchdowns. So Waddle has more receptions and more yards, but Smith has more touchdowns.
You also look at the targets, though. Like they've played the same number of games. Waddle has 114 targets compared to only 82 for Smith. So, like you're talking about Cooper Kupp getting fed. Like that's what Miami's doing with Waddle. They're feeding him. So yeah, I mean he's
a great point.
Instantly coming in there and he's the alpha. And I think like he's going to be like Dolphins' number 1 guy for years now. So
yeah,
good on Waddle.
Okay. So let's take a step because there's some news that came that's more college football than NFL, but in the reign of football. So I don't know if you guys know, but Travis Hunter, who was, I believe, the number 1 wide receiver, number 2 athlete, or maybe the number 2 athlete, number 1 wide receiver, something like that. But he was originally committed to Florida State, ended up flipping his commitment to Deion Sanders in Jackson State. So now there's a lot of conversation, a lot of talk on, with such a high 5-star recruit flipping, going to an HBCU, that we may be seeing a trend in high caliber recruits going to HBCUs. What say you guys? What do you guys think? Kyle, let's start with you.
The entitlement on some people, like actually getting upset that this young man is deciding what college to go to. Like, no one should have ownership of that decision, right? Like, let him decide for whatever reason he wants for school. Like, the fact that people were actually upset about it just baffled my mind. And, I don't want to necessarily say that's all just racist undertones of HBCU schools. I think it's just like, it's the lack of recognition probably more than anything. But still, like, I love the decision, and I don't like when people are stupid, but I love how angry people got about that. Like, that's almost making it worth it for them being so stupid, is how angry everyone got that he didn't choose their precious Florida State. Oh no.
Danny, what would say you?
I have no problem. Of course, I have no problem with it. I will say though that the only concern that I have about this is, like, and I don't want to say this about Deion, because right now Deion's doing great things for HBCUs, but how long will Deion be the coach of an HBCU, and how long will HBCUs continue to get this kind of love, right? Because Deion is going to serve Deion's self-purpose, whatever that may be, right? Because we still forget that he's an employee at Barstool. Of all the places to be an employee at, he's still an employee at Barstool.
I didn't know that at all, to be honest.
Yeah,
so thanks.
They hired him last summer. He's still on the Barstool payroll, right? So, and then there were rumors this past offseason that he talked to TCU, and he didn't deny it at all, right? So, Prime at HBCU is awesome, and he's bringing in lots of revenue, and he's bringing a lot of attention to HBCUs. That's well deserved. But is Prime in it for HBCUs, or is Prime in it because he's Prime and he has that kind of clout that he can bring to HBCU, but then he'll leave for, if Florida State were to open his alma mater, which, I mean, Florida State was open last year though, right?
Yeah, I think
it's been open.
If he goes to Florida State, does Jackson change and we commit to Florida State then?
That's funny. That's a great question. He might. But yeah, that for me is like, it's great right now. Like, as we live and breathe right now, it's awesome. Deion's interest align in the same, his interest and HBCU interests are on the same plane right now. But what happens when when his interests change, right? Because they just went to the Black National Championship game and got smoked. And Jackson State was 11-1, and the other team was
South Carolina State, right?
6-5.
Yeah.
And Deion got smoked. I don't know, right? If I want to see what happens when a premier job opens up, and that premier job, which is going to be a PWI, starts flirting with Deion, like, how entrenched in HBCU culture are you?
Yeah, I like where you're going. I think both of you guys are making some great points. I agree with you both. I think what I think is, like, I think it's great for college football, and I also think it's great for HBCUs, because I think too often tonight, to Kyle's point, people feel entitled that you get these same 4 or 5 recruits that are choosing Bama, Clemson, Florida State, Michigan, Ohio State, Oregon, like choosing the same teams over and over again. Then you have like the second tier PWI schools who feel like, we can't compete with these top tiers because they literally get all the recruits. So now I think this is good for college football, because now you're taking a very, very good athlete, putting him at a HBCU, which I think not only gives these tier 2, tier 3 PWIs a chance at some of these other recruits, but it legitimately gives a shot these HBCUs to not only get the recruits that they need in-house, but help them start getting the money and the revenue to help build better facilities, to help bring in even more. To Danny's point, I think a lot of the success of not only Jackson State but other HBCUs, hopefully, continuing to build upon success and bring in better athletes. Prime needs to stay there. I think about 5 years. Like, give it to about 2025, 2026. then see where the landscape is. I think by then you should be putting not only Jackson State, but you should be putting HBCUs in a position where like they're getting recruits on a daily. Imagine if 10 of the top 300 recruits next year end up at an HBCU, or maybe 5 of the ESPN top 250 go to Jackson State. That's big. That is huge.
At the same time, though, like the college, I mean, HBCUs are shifting like as a whole, right? Hugh Jackson's the head coach at Grambling now. He was the ex-coach of the Browns. Eddie George is at Tennessee State doing big things, where Hugh Jackson was his offensive coordinator before going to Grambling. So like these HBCUs are getting big name coaches and big name, like big names that have NFL ties, becoming head coaches or holding positions of power at HBCUs, which is great for HBCUs. But again, like when we're talking about Dion is going to think about Dion first. So whatever Dion's self-interest is what, like that's my concern. Like I feel like Eddie George is going to be at Tennessee State for a while. I feel like Hugh Jackson is going to be at Grambling for a while. I just don't know what's going to happen when the biggest name out of those three, Dion, what happens when he's not interested in HBCUs anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's a Barstool employee.
But I think we got to give him some faith, right? We got to give him some faith. He's going to hold it down, do his thing. No. Last thing on the agenda. This has been some great talk. So I don't know if you guys have noticed across all sports leagues, college football, college basketball, the NHL just announced something recently. The NBA is going through hell. The NFL is currently in hell right now. COVID-19 is beating the hell up on sports. Specifically, this Omarion variant. People, I know I said it wrong. It's Omicron or Omicron or whatever. I'm calling it the Omarion variant. The Omarion variant is leaving our sports leagues ice boxes in a heart. Shout out to my Omarion fans. You're gonna get that one off. Shout out to my Omarion fans. But they are leaving our sports leagues in disarray. Guys, what do you think can help fix this? Or is this the new norm? Is this what we living in now?
Yeah, I don't know if there's any quick fix to any of this. That's the problem. I mean, like you're right. Like this might just be the new normal. I know that like they've got estimations that like maybe a return to pre-March 2020 normal is possible by the end of next year. But I mean, like the NFL, their task isn't as daunting as the other leagues, right? They're almost done their season. Like you're almost at the playoffs. Just get through that. Like as soon as you get to the playoffs, you cut down half the teams, like more than half the teams actually. Like you cut down 2/3 of the league playing, right? So you've only got like 1/3 of the league to kind of worry about. So you can cut down the exposure. Whereas like the NBA, the NHL, like this is a reality that's gonna impact the rest of this season and probably the start of next season too. Unfortunately.
Yeah. And I think for to your NHL point, I mean, now you're affecting even like the Olympics and whether, athletes are going that. And, for basketball, I mean, I think, once this NBA season concludes, I think a lot of these players this is going to be the offseason that they really, really, really wanted. Like this is the offseason I think a lot of NBA players want to get to because there's no Olympics, there's no shortened season. They want to get to June. And I guarantee you a lot of these basketball players will not touch a ball, for at least like 2 to 3 months. Because it's like, it's good. It's because the season before was shortened. Last year's was the Olympics. This is going to be the first one they can just rest, recover. So I think that's a great point, Kyle, in terms of like the whole season and the start of next. Because I don't think the NBA does not want to start this next season late. They do not want to do that.
No.
Yeah, like same with the NHL, right? They want an 82 game season next year as normal. I'm assuming the NBA would want that too. And like they want to start again, like NHL, like first, second week of October, NBA by the end of October. Like they want like those timelines fully established, the drafts where they normally are. Like they don't really want those interruptions. And the NHL was already going to have to be dealing with the Olympic break. In a sense, if they choose and I know now the news there is that the NHL has not prevented that. Like it's part of the collective bargaining agreement, even though it was never written, is more of a verbal agreement. They've kind of, and again, it's probably, the commissioner, Gary Bettman, using that for future negotiations, right? Like we didn't take away the Olympics. You guys have the decision and you're the ones that said we're not going to go because of, COVID issues. But like, I'm sure the NHL is really hoping that the players don't go and they can kind of use that time they were going to have off to either they could use that to kind of rescheduling for postponement games, or actually just use that time off that they already had scheduled, hope that everyone can kind of get healthier, and then reconvene after the break. I know that's kind of been a case too. So then it's for them, it's limping to that point, which would be like, I guess, early February, end of January, I think is when the break was going to happen. So another month still. I know they're going to take a bit of a pause, I think, starting tomorrow until Christmas Day. So usually I think there's no games Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, but that's it. Like it's, 23rd they're playing, then 26th they're playing. So now like 4 days without games. So they're giving them that again, maybe to help to get through to that point to where they want that, again, quote unquote Olympic break, which they can utilize as a break to get healthier.
Yeah, man, go ahead, Danny.
I think anything outside of a vaccine mandate from leagues, which is not going to happen, like Players Association, unions are not going to let that happen. So this is the new one. Like, we're just going to have flare-ups throughout the season, and they're going to have to adjust.
The NHL, there's one NHL player, like a league with hundreds, almost thousands of players, one NHL player who isn't vaccinated. Right. That's so like for the league, like vaccines haven't been the issue. Like almost the entire league is vaccinated. And then, like you said, this Omicron or Omarion variant is just super contagious. The infectious beats of Omarion songs.
Yeah. I'm just glad that, not only the NHL, but I believe the NBA and NFL, like majority of the players are vaccinated. And right. If my research has been right about this variant, this Omarion variant, it's as long as people are, the vaccinated people who are getting it, it's still like mild symptoms. So like they're still okay, for like in terms of like their health, physically, mentally. So it's sounding like it's just more annoying to deal with more than anything, and having to deal with like all the protocols, missed games, missed practices, adjustments, and all that. So. Shout out to our professional athletes out here. I know your job's a little tricky right now, but hey, keep on keeping on, and we're gonna keep sporting.
One thing I'd just like to add is it's kind of crazy with all the athletes that have gotten it that no one has really gotten it super severe. Like NFL wise, there was Raquel Armstead, the former Jags running back. I think he was with the Giants this year. Like it seemed like he got it and was hospitalized for months. And that's why he missed most of the 2020 season, is just like dealing with it, having it in the offseason and then in season, just could never like come back to it. Outside of Armstead, though, haven't really seen any athlete be like super incredibly affected by it. So maybe credence to what they've said all along, right? Like it's gonna like any disease. The oldest and youngest are the most vulnerable, right? Those without the high developed immune systems. Again, elite athletes, they put their bodies through so much anyway that like those, their bodies are more well, not to say programmed, but set to fight off things. Yeah. And I guess maybe that's the proof is there that like really no athletes have suffered, or very few athletes have suffered severe symptoms of it.
Yes, I know Von Miller said he struggled with it. He had the effects of it for months. And I know I don't know if he still does it, but Jason Tatum at one point said he had to take an inhaler.
Yeah.
Like he had to before every game.
I have seen a couple athletes like that. They just kind of struggled kind of getting back into their prime, getting back into that groove of it. But I think if I'm not going to say that's a blessing, but I think that's like the best case scenario, right? Like you're just taking you a little bit longer to get acclimated back into your prime, but you're still alive, you're still well, you're still able to be there for your family, for your teammates, doing the sport.
I mean, he played, right? Like I don't know if he started week 1 last year, but I mean, he did get hurt in the season, but he played, and maybe COVID had something to do with the fact that he got hurt. Maybe that impacted that, but he was at least able to get back on the field, even if he wasn't 100%. Again, unlike Armstead, who was hospitalized. Seems like he was in hospital for at least 2 months. So like that was like a totally new class of severity again for athletes that like thankfully we really haven't seen since then. And thankfully it seems like Armstead's come back, like he was back in the NFL this year. So it seems like he's been able to recover from that. His road was a little longer than most, but at least it seemed like it might have been life-threatening at one point, and it's good to see him back from that. But yeah, I guess like in that sense, athletes kind of have been lucky that even though it's contagious and spreading, they've kind of been sheltered from the worst of the symptoms themselves. And we don't know all the details. Maybe there are some athletes that have had it worse than what's being reported and what we know.
Yeah, for sure. Guys, this has been awesome. Kyle, this has been awesome. Danny, Why don't you take us out? Let the people know where to find you. Actually, first, Kyle, how about you let the people know where to find you? Where can they catch you? Where can they hear you, your takes, all this great research you do? Where can the people find you, man?
Well, I'm on Twitter at Senra Says. I also co-host the Full Press Fantasy Pod at FPC _ Fantasy Pod. Again, I mentioned earlier, right with Going for Two, I do a couple of live shows with them. The 2-point conversion, which are on Monday nights. So we just did one last night. I got 2 more before the end of the season. And then Mondays in the off season, Gladys and I will kind of alternate. She'll keep going with the 2-point conversion. I'll have another show called Press Coverage, which is more one-on-one interviews with fantasy football people. I also have the Dynasty Gambit, which will kick up again on January 6th. So we go on Thursday nights. I think scheduled to be around like 8:30, a little bit later than when you guys come on the Going for Two Live Network. But so starting in January, I think maybe every Thursday at least to start off. In January, we'll just be talking Dynasty fantasy football because fantasy redraft season, a lot of it, you draft in August and it goes through to the NFL season, but then there's a lot of dormant time. But with Dynasty, where you've got rookie drafts, you've got trading happening sometimes in January. Like I know last year I did a Dynasty startup the day after the Super Bowl, so we started that draft February, whatever it was, right? So there is no off season in Dynasty, and so glad that Jeff gives us the chance on the Dynasty Gambit to talk about Dynasty fantasy football all year round.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. Yeah, people, make sure y'all go check out my man Kyle. I'm gonna be there checking him out. Kyle's been awesome. Danny, let the people know where they can find you, man.
You can find me on Eagles Twitter right now in shambles, but any other time, dog. My heart is in. It should not be 10-10. Like the Eagles should be up by 1,000.
I thought, okay, the way you were saying, I thought are they down 20-0 or something? No, they're tied 10-10.
Kyle, I turn around, look at the score. They tied 10.
No.
Why are you dramatic?
No,
they were down 7-0, right? So they
were down 10-0 because Jalen threw a pick and then he fumbled in the red zone. No. The Eagles should be up. It should be, and now they're letting the Washington racial slurs take one to the house on the kickoff. These take me to hell, man. This is you find me on Twitter, badass 14.
I'm sorry.
Oh man, Danny, you do know the other team gets paid to play football, right? You know the other team gets paid to play football.
I'm in a group chat with some friends from college, and they're a bunch of racial slur fans. And we were talking Friday when they postponed the game, and I was like, Washington should have to forfeit because that's what Roger Goodell said in the beginning of the year. And they dragged me to the pits of hell, and I'm glad they did because they're actually putting up a decent game. Like they dragged me for an hour. Like I left the chat.
Oh, they was getting you so bad. All you see is Matthew has left the conversation.
No, I put that joint on mute. They was dragging me to hell, and not saying I deserved it, right? If they were saying was correct, it's obviously a close game.
Yeah. What were we just saying? Divisional games, people. Divisional games.
Who is Garrett Gilbert and how was he 5 for 9? What is this?
Okay, so it's not Kyle Allen. Did they pull Kyle Allen?
It's a man named Garrett Gilbert.
Yeah. I think, if I remember correctly, the Saints drafted him. I think he was drafted. Man, what a bad quarterback year. It was the Winston Mariota year. Those two at 1-2, and then I think, do you remember this? Do you remember who was the third quarterback drafted?
Was that Jordan?
He probably went to the Packers.
I think it was Brett Hundley. That was the third quarterback of that class.
That was the name I was thinking of. That was a nasty time for backup QB.
And I think the Saints might have taken the fourth quarterback in that class, which was Garrett Gilbert. So, outside of Winston Mariota, that was a really bad class.
Kyle, and then people wondered why we went and drafted Jordan Love. Fam, if you watch Brett Hundley play, you wouldn't want him coming back either. Yo, give me Jordan Love.
Well, to be fair, when they signed Blake Bortles this year, I said it. If he's the backup all year, he's the best backup that Aaron Rodgers has had. Because up to that point, it was Matt Flynn. And, we can criticize Blake Bortles all we want, but he is much better than Matt Flynn. That is for sure.
He'll come and give you a 15 out of 20, 180-yard game and a touchdown fresh off of his construction worker shift the night before. He can give you some buckets.
Give him a good offensive system like the one Matt LaFleur was running. I think he would have been able to manage well. So Packers backup quarterback has been an awful history. So that was nice to rewalk that because when Rodgers broke his collarbone in 2017 and Brett Hundley had to take over. That was
some nasty QB play.
They almost lost to the winless Cleveland Browns. The 0-16 Browns, they beat the Browns in overtime. They almost lost that game. That was almost not an 0-16 Browns team.
People,
Brett Hundley.
make sure y'all follow the kid at Los D Mix on IG, on Twitter. Make sure you follow the pod, Speak On It _pod on IG and Twitter. That's all we got. Kyle, thank you for being here. This is a great episode, great convo. It's love. Can't wait. We'll have to do this again another time for sure. It's always.
Thank you for inviting me, guys. I appreciate it greatly. This is awesome.
Sure. All right, people.
Sorry, I rambled too much. We went over overtime.
No such thing.
Y'all already know what to do, when to do it. Speak on it, because you know why. We're gonna be off for 2 weeks. Make sure you go. Not only this is a great episode, we gave y'all a lot of content in this one too, but go back and check out some of these other episodes. We've been talking about it. We've been speaking on it. Mad good combos. That's it for me. That's it for me.
Peace,
people.